Technology has taken a drastic change in both our professional and personal lives over the years, and especially recently. There has been some advantages, of course, because we are able to hold down our work life and our professional life, our home life and our professional life simultaneously due to technology. However, there's also a drawback to this because of the fast-paced work life that we have. It is fast making a foray to our home lives. We now find ourselves answering emails while watching TV with our families, but also being on the phone while trying to play with our children. That in itself can create a catastrophe. Now, we for a long time have had people trying to fight to find the perfect work-life balance. But can we ever really find the perfect work-life balance with the situation the way it is? I'm joined by two panelists who are amazing, and we're going to speak through rewriting the rules and how to leverage technology to aim for a perfect work-life balance. Today, I'm joined by Juliet Mhango, who is the Chief Human Capital Development and Transformation Officer at Cell-C, and also by Andy Saliba, who's the HR lead at Cisco. I'm going to go right over to you, Andy, and ask you this. So, do the gender parities start to reveal themselves when we discuss technology and the perfect work-life balance?
Absolutely, and thank you for that question, Thami. I mean, if I can just perhaps, use the stats as a caveat. The stats are telling us, women are contributing 48% towards the GDP, whilst on the flip side of that coin, they typically are picking up 60%, if not more, of their domestic duties in the home. And so if you use that as a pictorial reference, you start then to understand the conversation, why it needs to shift around what equality needs to look like. And I think the gender parity, because women tend to take on a little bit more than I think our male counterparts, and you start seeing the results of that kind of manifesting in the workspace. And so certainly I think it's a big conversation that we need to have. I think there's a lot of truth in understanding what the data tells us, and in terms of what decisions we're making relative to that data that's coming through. So absolutely.
I'm going to come through to you, Juliet, and ask you, following what Andisa has said, what do you believe that some of the barriers to successes are that women face that men don't? And what can businesses do to actually overcome these challenges, specifically using technology?
Yeah, thanks, Thami, for the question. So when you look at the world of business, just going more broadly, and you look at gender representation, you see that we are making progress, but in the business world, we still have an underrepresentation of women in the business world. In a recent report by PwC in 2019, the stats showed that only 3.31% of CEOs of listed companies on the JSE are women. So definitely we see that women are still battling to come through the ranks. If you look at critical and scarce skills in the business world and in the entrepreneurial world, women are still underrepresented. And furthermore, we still have pay parities, differences from a pay perspective. Now you look at all these elements and you ask yourself, women are struggling to actually progress through the corporate space. In the business world, it's the same in government and in the entrepreneurial space. So there's still traditional roles. Women are still fulfilling traditional roles in the workplace. So that's one dynamic. Then when it comes to women participating in the economy, as Andisa mentioned earlier, we're still stuck in traditional roles. So patriarchy is still persistent. Women are still participating in the economy, but find themselves having to fulfill their traditional roles within the home environment as well. So this places a lot of pressure on women to be super women, if I can call it that. And I think with technology, I mean, COVID-19 has brought massive challenges for the world. But at the same time, I believe it presents great opportunities for business to really transform and do business differently. The world of work is forever changed. We don't have to be sitting in the office 9 to 5 every day of the week. So there's more of an opportunity to actually have flexibility in how the business world operates and work arrangements. And this presents a massive opportunities. And I think people and technology have to come together, and we need to leverage this to be able to have the flexibility.
I love the word you use, superwoman, because we do believe that we can't crumble. We have to take a lot on our shoulders as women and wear this cape and, have everybody believe we're coping. So, Juliet, I'm going to stay with you and ask you, and I want you to just dive and unpack that a little bit more, that superwoman aspect. How can women overcome the need to be superwoman and actually achieve, a work-life balance? And maybe answer it in two parts. How do they achieve a work-life balance? And then how do they achieve it using technology?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question, Thami. First and foremost, the focus needs, I think the way the business world has been structured, we've been focusing a lot around inputs. So people showing up, people being at the office all the time. And as we've unpacked, this is changing. So therefore, it's all about what you bring to the table. So women can then have that flexibility, focus on outcomes, focus on purpose and your contributions, and then set boundaries. I think women in general, we want to be everything and anything to everybody. And I think that has to change. We need to set boundaries and make time for ourselves, And one of my big things is about being present in whatever space I'm in. So if I'm with the kids, then I'm fully present there. If I'm in the workplace, then I'm fully present there. And try to make sure that these worlds, so it's a lot of delegation as well, both in the business environment and on the home front as well, that you delegate and the family knows that at this moment you're focusing on what you have to do within the business context, and the same on the other hand. So I don't think we quite ever get that balance right, but I think being present in every space and also just saying, this is setting those boundaries, this is as far as I can go and manage that. That's important. But technology presents a massive opportunity. As I've said earlier, we've got access to a lot more resources than we've previously had. And it's the challenge for businesses to actually leverage and make sure that we're providing resources to female employees and also in the entrepreneurial space to provide resources and make sure that we're able to balance.
So you touched on a couple of very interesting points there, Juliet, and I'm going to have go over with you, Andisa, so we can, unpack some of the things that Juliet spoke about. She said barriers and boundaries. Now, when we went into lockdown, technology actually broke down those boundaries because there was no longer an actual work day where you needed to drive to the office and drive back home. And so those boundaries became quite blurred during lockdown. We are quite fortunate as South Africans that we're now at level 1 of our coronavirus lockdown since the 21st of September, which has seen a lot of people begin to go back to the office and starting to those that haven't. Now, do you think that them going back to the offices physically will start to alleviate the pressures that we started to get during lockdown